On today's show, mystery drones over New Jersey. Tiffany Trump's marriage is a sham. Elon Musk hates the homeless. J.D. Vance once again proves he's even more racist than you can imagine. America's healthcare under fire. Nancy Pelosi breaks her hip. Nancy Mace remains unhinged. And President Kennedy's grandson calls Bobby Kennedy Jr. a Russian spy and says he's not kidding. This is the mop-up for December 14th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Thank you so much for finding me. Please, of course, like this episode so I remain in your feed. And, of course, leave a comment. I read all your comments. And the best way to help me this time of the year is to share this episode. The only reason I have an audience is because of my audience sharing these episodes. So please share this episode and check out all the worthless garbage over at shopdavidfeldman.com. The holidays are here. Why not pick up this favorite for a loved one? It's the Donald Trump in Edvard Munch's The Scream coffee mug. Everybody is seeing drones over New Jersey skies. Jeff Van Drew, a New Jersey House Republican, told Fox News he has reason to believe these drones are being sent by an Iranian mothership just off the coast of the United States. Because anyone who pays attention to the Middle East knows that Iran's military has never been stronger and is just itching for a fight with the United States. Luckily, we have a president-elect, Donald Trump, who is measured and sober and wants to wait till he has all the facts before scaring the American people. On Friday, Donald Trump, our soon-to-be commander-in-chief, soothed an anxious nation with these comforting words, quote, "Mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shoot them down." I think he's telling people to shoot these drones out of the sky, which we are being told are probably commercial jetliners or private planes. Luckily, the people who hang on every single word of Donald Trump's, luckily, they aren't into guns. Biden's National Security Communications Advisor, Admiral John Kirby, says these mystery drones are no mystery. He said many of the corroborated sightings have turned out to be piloted aircraft or possibly Santa on a training mission. But Marjorie Jewish Space Lasers Taylor Joe Biden controls the weather Greene said Admiral Kirby and the Pentagon are lying about the drones. Well, actually, Marjorie Taylor Greene used her grown-up words and said, quote unquote, "I call bullshit," unquote. A lot of politicians speak down to their constituents. Marjorie Taylor Greene speaks up to hers. She speaks up, not down. In fact, Marjorie is seriously considering a run for Senate in 2026 with the slogan, "Vote for Marjorie, she's beneath you." I'm voting for Marjorie because she doesn't make me feel stupid. I shouldn't show this to you, but my friend from elementary school is a doctor in Washington, D.C., and this, I'm not making this up, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene's most recent brain scam. This is a brain scan from Marjorie Taylor Greene's brain. She should have her stomach shaved, I think. Donald Trump has been named Time's Man of the Year, which is amazing news for those of you still living in the year 1985. Congratulations, Mr. Trump, you're Time's Man of the Year, joining the ranks of other Time Men of the Year like Adolf Hitler, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and Charles Lindbergh. Yes, Adolf Hitler, the Ayatollah Khomeini, Charles Lindbergh, and Donald Trump. Turns out to get named Times Man of the Year, all you have to do is spread anti-Semitism throughout the world. But you know what honorific Donald Trump really deserves? Father of the Year. No greater dad than Donald Trump. All his children they're wildly successful because of his great parenting skills. They did it on their own, tough love, because Donald Trump, well, he made it on his own, so he's decided, I got to toughen up my kids. He said, you're going to do it all on your own. And one of his sons, Eric Trump, announced that all on his own, Eric Trump will be opening Donald Trump Tower, Jeddah. That's incredible. You know, his father just got elected president, and Eric suddenly gets to build a Trump Tower in Jeddah. 3 years ago, Ivana's husband, Jared, was given $2 billion by the Saudi Arabians to invest. So far, he's collected more than $100 million in fees, but has yet to even pay the Saudis interest on their $2 billion investment. That's according to the New York Times and Senate Finance Chair Ron Wyden. And now Eric Trump somehow is building Trump Tower all by himself in Jeddah. And Eric says he did it all on his own. Nobody's trying to curry favor with my dad. In fact, he said, I didn't even know Jeddah was in Saudi Arabia until you people started accusing me. Eric added, I'm pretty certain Jeddah is where Obi-Wan Kenobi was born. I don't even think he's Arab. Congratulations, Eric Trump, on Trump Tower, Jeddah. This is a picture of Tiffany Trump back in 2022 on her wedding day. That's Donald to her left, and over on the right is Marla Maples, who Donald Trump cheated with while he was still married to his first wife, Ivana Trump, who died in 2022, the same year Tiffany got married. Ivana Trump, mother of 3 of Donald Trump's children, was buried on the back 9 of Donald Trump's golf course in Bedminster, New Jersey. Here's the tombstone. He spared no expense because, again, Ivana was the mother of his 3 babies. This is video taken by Richard Harbis from the Daily Mail. This is actual video of Ivana Trump's burial ground. I mean, I've been divorced quite a few times myself. I wish I could demonstrate the same level of care and respect for my ex-wives the way Donald Trump shows his. But then again, when you're a billionaire with no debt, you can splurge on fancy mausoleums. I made that as a Biden commercial earlier in the year. Anyway, this is Tiffany on her wedding day marrying Michael Boulos, who we were told at the time is the heir to a multi-billion-dollar fortune. He comes, we were told, from a prominent family. We were told his dad is a lawyer who also came from a prominent family. This is his dad, Tiffany's father-in-law, Mossad Boulos. And despite being swamped running his family's sprawling multi-billion-dollar empire, Mossad Boulos, Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, has agreed, out of the kindness of his heart, he has agreed to give something back to America by serving as Donald Trump's Middle East envoy. Well, turns out he needed the work. Not a billionaire. Not even a lawyer. According to the New York Times, this is the headline, Trump's Middle East advisor pick is a small-time truck salesman, unquote. The lore, it goes on to say, the lore around Mossad Boulos, Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, is that he is a billionaire deal maker. Records show otherwise. A small-time truck salesman. Well, that's kind of like being a billionaire lawyer without the diploma or the $1 billion. I mean, technically speaking, what's the difference between a billionaire lawyer and a small-time truck salesman? Really not much when you think about it, just a legal education and more money than you know what to do with. So I think the Times is being a little hypercritical here. According to that article, his company last year made a profit of $66,000. Well, that's more than Donald Trump's Truth Social earned. In fact, Truth Social lost millions of dollars this year, but somehow it's got a market cap of $6 billion. So by any reasonable math in America, this guy's a billionaire, and he should sue for defamation. He should sue the New York Times for defamation. Donald Trump said he's a lawyer, says he graduated. This is what Donald Trump said. He said he graduated from the University of Houston Law School, but the University of Houston's law school says they have no record of Mossad Bulis. So who are you going to believe, Donald Trump or the University of Houston Law School? I think Donald Trump should sue the University of Houston Law School for defamation and sexual assault. Trump only surrounds himself with billionaires and lawyers. He loves lawyers, specifically defense lawyers. I'm not sure if Elon Musk is a lawyer, but he's certainly a billionaire and the richest man in the world. His wealth has literally doubled since the November 5th election. I wonder why. Elon Musk, thanks to his stake in Tesla, is now worth $400 billion, which, if I'm not mistaken, is what Donald Trump shelled out this year in legal fees. The great thing about Elon Musk is he's the richest man in the world, but he has so much compassion for those less fortunate. 2 nights ago, he was interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and Elon talked about the homeless in San Francisco, and he said, don't call them homeless. They're not homeless. Musk said the homeless people in San Francisco are, quote, violent drug zombies with dead eyes. So much love in this man's heart. Yes, so much love. 3 men filed a lawsuit on Thursday against Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, claiming he drugged and then raped them. That would be 3 men claiming to have been raped by P. Diddy. It is estimated that 40 similar lawsuits have been filed against him while he awaits trial in a federal prison on charges of racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation for purposes of prostitution, or as they call that in Florida, serving in Congress. Oh, no, he left Congress. The Texas Tribune is reporting this morning that Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is suing a New York doctor for prescribing abortion pills to a Texas woman. That would be in direct violation of Texas law. According to the Texas Tribune, the state of New York has passed shield laws for the express purpose of giving New York doctors immunity from out-of-state lawsuits against them for writing prescriptions for the abortion pills. So presumably, this New York doctor is protected. Texas Attorney General Paxton is suing New York doctor Margaret Carpenter, who is alleged to have written a prescription for a 20-year-old Texas woman who was 9 weeks pregnant. That's a late-term abortion. 9 weeks pregnant. Unbelievable. The Texas Tribune, by the way, is a nonprofit, nonpartisan media organization that informs Texans and engages with them about public policy, politics, government, and statewide issues. If you're looking for a news organization to support this year, you can't find a more worthy nonprofit than the Texas Tribune. This is the mop-up for December 14th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Please like this episode so I remain in your feed. Share it. Tell your friends about it. Subscribe to my newsletter and my channel. And buy some worthless garbage over at Shop David Feldman. .com, like this no union busting Starbucks coffee mug. Daniel Penny, a white man, was found not guilty for the murder of Jordan Neely, a black homeless man, who Penny placed in a 6-minute chokehold, resulting in what the medical examiner later ruled as homicide. Penny claimed Neely was threatening people on a New York City subway, but witnesses said otherwise. Video of the incident shows people begging Penny to stop, warning he's going to kill Neely, who was black. According to reporting of the video, which I haven't seen, but according to reporting on the video, Neely, who was black, his body goes limp while Penny continues to keep him in a chokehold for another minute. Well, Penny was found not guilty this week. So J.D. Vance, our new vice president-elect, who helped spread the lie that Haitian immigrants are stealing and then eating cats and dogs, J.D. Vance, he's invited Penny to join him when he attends the Army-Navy football game. Vance said, quote, Daniel Penny's a good guy, and New York's mob district attorney tried to ruin his life for having a backbone? I'm grateful he accepted my invitation and hope he's able to have fun and appreciate how much his fellow citizens admire his courage. Yes, very courageous, keeping a man in a chokehold after his body goes limp. Yeah. Of all the people you can invite to the Army-Navy game, J.D. Vance picks the guy acquitted this week of killing a black homeless man. You might remember Kyle Rittenhouse showed up with an assault rifle to a Black Lives Matter protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin back in 2020. He ended up murdering 2, injuring 1. One of the people he killed, also a homeless man. Kyle claimed the homeless man was trying to take his rifle, so he shot him to death. Kyle was later acquitted. So, of course, Donald Trump had no choice but to invite Kyle Rittenhouse down to Mar-a-Lago, where they talked, took some pictures, and afterwards Donald Trump described him as a fine young man. Yes, for killing 2 people at a Black Lives Matter protest, injuring another, and then getting acquitted. A fine young man. You know, it's too bad United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was white. Had he been black, Luigi Mangione would be on Fox News right now claiming he's the victim of lawfare. In Luigi's manifesto, he points out that America spends more on health care than any country in the world and gets the worst results. Christopher Ingram over at the Minnesota Reformer writes this week, quote, on life expectancy, the U.S. ranks somewhere in the 60s among the world's countries, not the 1960s. We're like down in the 60s among the world's countries. He says that's according to data from the United Nations. He says America falls between Panama and Estonia when it comes to life expectancy. We spend more than anybody else on the planet. Germany comes in second. We spend twice as much as Germany. But they have better results. Christopher Ingram over at the Minnesota Reformer continues, quote, among the wealthy subset of countries that are part of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, America ranks 32nd out of 38. Christopher Ingram over at the Minnesota Reformer continues, quote, according to an analysis by Harvard health economist David Cutler, about 1/3 of healthcare dollars spent in the United States goes towards administration. What does that mean? It means 1/3 of what we spend on getting better, taking care of the sick, 1/3 of that goes mostly to the health insurance companies. 1/3 of everything spent on health care in the United States goes to the health insurance companies. Paperwork. The health insurance companies in America skim 1/3 off the top for the entire healthcare sector in order to provide what? Less healthcare, to deny treatment and increase profits for shareholders. That's what corporatization of healthcare accomplishes. It increases profits for the health insurance companies while eliminating healthcare. 1/3 of every dollar in America spent on healthcare is spent on administration costs, paperwork, doctors hiring people just to handle the paperwork, hospitals hiring MBAs just to handle the paperwork. From whom? The health insurance companies. Dr. Elizabeth Rosenthal, in her 2017 indictment of America's health insurance racket, writes that Medicare, that's government health care, Medicare only spends 2% of its budget on administrative costs. Same goes for the VA. Our so-called inefficient government, 2% on administrative costs. And you know who sucks money out of Medicare and the Veterans Administration? United Healthcare. United Healthcare. According to the Wall Street Journal, we've gone over this, roughly half of United Healthcare's profits come from convincing United States veterans to sign up for something called Medicaid Advantage. And then, because American veterans are smart enough not to go to a for-profit hospital because they use the VA, United Healthcare somehow is reimbursed billions of dollars each year, all profit. United Healthcare is reimbursed billions of dollars each year by our government. They are reimbursed for services provided free of charge by the VA. If it's confusing, well, that's why they get away with it. It's roughly half of United Healthcare's profits because it's all free. Free money by ripping off Medicare and the VA. The VA should be getting that money. When veterans sign up for Medicare Advantage, the government ends up paying double for their medical care. First, this is according to the Wall Street Journal last week, before this other story. First, this is according to the Wall Street Journal, when veterans, and there are about 1 million of them who have signed up for Medicare Advantage, when veterans sign up for Medicare Advantage, the government ends up paying double for their medical care. First, the VA provides it to the veteran, and then because the veteran is too smart to use a for-profit hospital, the government still reimburses United Healthcare for what the veteran would have been charged had he not used the VA and gone to a for-profit hospital. You know, one of the reasons it's confusing is you just cannot believe that people are this immoral. This is theft. And you're looking at British-born Andrew Witty, that's Sir Andrew Witty, who apparently came to America to profit off healthcare because I think it's harder to do that in England. It's still, they're trying to get rid of national healthcare, but he had to come to America to profit off healthcare because you can't really do it yet in England. He runs all of United Healthcare. He's the top of the food chain. He runs the whole. You know what, though? He's a faceless bureaucrat, so he deserves anonymity. So let's put him in a disguise there. Let's give him some eyes. Let's cover up his ears. Yeah, people shouldn't, give him a new nose, give him some hair, a mouth. There, now you can't. Now you have no idea. But that is Sir, who knighted Sir Andrew Witty? That is Sir Andrew Witty, the man in charge of United Healthcare. On Friday, Sir Witty, the CEO of the entire United Healthcare Group, wrote a piece for the New York Times saying, quote, "The U.S. health system, quote unquote, is not perfect. You are an insurance executive. You are not in the healthcare business. You're in the health deprivation business. And if, as you say, the U.S. health system isn't perfect, it's only because you're skimming 33% off the top and stealing, according to the Wall Street Journal, from Medicare and the VA." In his article, Sir Andrew Witty goes on to write, quote, "We, United Healthcare, need to improve how we explain what insurance covers and how decisions are made." No, you need to go to prison. You need to shut United Healthcare down. You have no right to sell health care insurance and deny health care for profit. No other country does this, including the one you were born in, Sir Witty. You need to shut your company down and then find real work. You need to promote Medicare for all. And what Medicare for all means, Sir Andrew Witty, is no health insurance companies. And stay out of Medicare, Andrew Witty. Medicare Advantage is a ripoff. You're ripping off Medicare, you're ripping off the VA, you're ripping off senior citizens, you're stealing from the United States government. You need, instead of penning articles for the New York Times about how you need to explain yourself better, you need to shut your company down. And then you need to ask God for forgiveness. Medicare for all. That means no United Healthcare stealing from Medicare and the VA. You know, I keep hearing about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy talking about their Department of Government Efficiency. Well, United Healthcare is earning billions each year. According to the Wall Street Journal, half their profits come from ripping off Medicare and the VA. They get reimbursed by Medicare for services provided for free by the VA. You would think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy with their Department of Government Efficiency would do something about this. Strange, though. You don't hear it. You don't hear it. CNBC, the financial network, reports that healthcare stocks were down about 6% since the United Healthcare CEO was shot. Sir Andrew Witty saw that headline and said, "See, like I said, a tragedy." Police are now saying the suspect, Luigi Mangione, was not a United Healthcare customer. A Florida woman was arrested after telling a Blue Cross representative who had just denied her claim, quote, "Delay, deny, depose. You people are next," unquote. Well, the call was recorded. Police showed up. She apologized for her words, but because it's Florida, she was arrested. Fox 13, Tampa Bay, Florida, reported.
A 42-year-old married mother of three from Lakeland was in court today, charged with threats to conduct an act of terrorism and a mass shooting for a phone call with a healthcare agent.
Charges written threat to kill or injure, conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. That's a second-degree felony, punished by 15 years in Florida State Prison.
She's accused of threatening the Blue Cross Blue Shield employee using the now infamous language associated with the accused United Healthcare CEO killer. Brianna Boston admitted to saying, "Delay, deny, depose. You people are next." Still, the judge in her first court appearance setting bond at $100,000, referencing the tensions in the U.S. around healthcare right now.
I do find that the bond of $100,000 is appropriate considering the status of our country it's employing.
Yeah. So this is what's going to happen now. I have all these insurance claims that I have to deal with, and I deal for some older people when I talk on the phone with insurance companies, and this is how it's going to be now. Mr. Feldman, I don't like your tone of voice. I feel threatened. Mr. Feldman, did you yell at somebody at your health insurance company? Come with us. You're a terrorist. The health insurance, the faceless bureaucrat over the phone felt threatened by you. This is what happens. This is how they control the narrative and control us. Again, it was a tragedy what happened last week. But now you can't not raise your voice to a health insurance person. Otherwise, you're a terrorist. Meanwhile, there are reports that 1,500 anonymous donors have contributed to several crowdsourced defense funds for Luigi Mangione. You could do that. You could donate to him, or you could fight for Medicare for All. It feels kind of stupid. I don't know if he did it, but if he did it, he set the Medicare for All movement back. He's an a-hole. If he did it, he's just another scumbag with a gun. And by the way, his family is worth millions. If he did it, his family is worth millions. They run several businesses, including a chain of nursing homes. According to the New York Post, one of those nursing homes was cited 24 times by the health department over the last 6 years. That's nearly 3 times more than the national average. He's not a hero. His family, if he did it, runs nursing homes. You know what nursing homes do? They literally make certain that you're completely broke. That's how nursing homes work. In order to get into a nursing home, you have to give them all your money. You think I'm joking? If you have any assets, it goes to the nursing home. Read about it. We don't like to talk about it. This guy, if he did it, is a scumbag. He's not a hero. And if his family does in fact own a chain of nursing homes, he comes from a long line of scumbags. Not a hero. Not a hero. And neither is my mayor, New York Democrat Eric Adams, who, like Mangione, also faces trial here in New York City. Mayor Eric Adams, I'm always amazed how public figures respond. They just respond to tragedies, because this is a tragedy. Our healthcare system is a tragedy. The death of this CEO is a tragedy. He had 2 kids, an ex-wife. That this kid, if he did it, ended up this way, that's a tragedy. So the mayor, the brilliant mayor, Eric Adams of New York, blamed Mangione's Ivy League education for the shooting. Well, first of all, you're the mayor of New York City. I know you're an ex-cop, Mayor Adams, but we're still innocent till proven guilty. But Eric Adams has already decided Mangione did it, and he blamed Mangione's Ivy League education for the shooting. Mayor Adams insisted, just like everybody else who attends the University of Pennsylvania, he was radicalized. Everybody who attends the University of Pennsylvania is radicalized. Does that include Donald Trump? Was he radicalized at the University of Pennsylvania? No, because he never attended classes. He probably paid somebody to be there for him. Well, Eric Adams wanted an attack soon-to-be President Trump because Eric Adams is sucking up for a pardon. Medicare for all, Medicare for all, Medicare for all. 2% administration fees in Medicare. You don't think the government can provide health care, Medicare, and ask the veterans about the VA. That's real government-provided health care. Ask veterans about the VA. It's why they take Medicare Advantage from United Healthcare, but when they get sick, they go to the VA. Medicare for all. There's really, in terms of policy, there are other things, but Medicare for all. That's what Bernie basically ran on in 2020. And if we had Medicare for all, none of this would be going on. And we'd get rid of the guns because we'd say, you want to bring down healthcare costs? That healthcare executive would never have been shot if we had Medicare for all, because the government would say, these effing guns are costing us a fortune. Focus on the prize, not the noise. Everything that's going on right now, and we're all angry, but it really is noise. The signal is Medicare for all. And Bernie gets it. Bernie should have been elected president. Bernie is brilliant. This is how you respond to what's going on right now. This is what Bernie said. Bernie, I don't think he's ever made a mistake. This is what Bernie said. You don't kill people. It's abhorrent. I condemn it wholeheartedly. It was a terrible act. But what it did show online is that many, many people are furious at the health insurance companies who make huge profits, denying them and their families the health care that they desperately need. Perfect. A perfect statement that really can't be taken out of context. You open with, you don't kill people. It's abhorrent. I condemn it wholeheartedly. It was a terrible act. And then you respond to the anger at the health insurance companies. AOC. This is what AOC, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said about the shooting. This is not to say that an act of violence is justified, but I think for anyone who is confused or shocked or appalled, they need to understand that people interpret and feel and experience denied claims as an act of violence, unquote. AOC is running to become the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee for the new Congress. She's 35, maybe 36. But Nancy Pelosi is trying to block her. She's urging Democrats to pick Congressman Jerry Connolly. He's a Democrat from Virginia. I like him. I'd be happy with Jerry Connolly, but back in 2019, he refused to get behind Medicare for all. He's from a tough district. He almost paid a price for voting in favor of Obamacare, which is not Medicare for all. He was not supporting Medicare for all in 2019. He is 74. I wish him well. I really admire Jerry Connolly. He's had some serious health issues. There's a part of me that kind of hopes he gets to be the ranking member on the Oversight Committee. I like him. He's had some serious health issues, and he's a good man. He's had health issues, and so has Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi fell and broke her hip yesterday. Mitch McConnell fell on Tuesday, bruising his face and his wrist. I hope they heal very quickly, and I hope Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell don't go bankrupt from the medical costs. I hope they have good government health insurance. Do they? I don't pay attention to these things. Does Nancy Pelosi have a good government health insurance? Health care? Does Mitch McConnell have it? Because I would hate for Nancy Pelosi, just broke her hip, and Mitch McConnell, I would hate for them to go broke from medical debt. Millions of Americans go bankrupt every year from medical debt. The number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States, medical debt. The 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi fractured her hip after falling during her trip to Luxembourg, honoring the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. Mitch McConnell, roughly the same age as Pelosi, he's 82, but turtles can live up to 150. McConnell tripped and fell Tuesday, injuring his face and his wrist. Believe it or not, I'm going to miss Mitch McConnell. He's still going to be in the Senate. He's not going to be the majority leader. He stepped away from his leadership position, but that hasn't stopped him from speaking out against Trump and the strain of isolationism inside the Republican Party. This week, he warned that the push to abandon Ukraine inside the Republican Party is reminiscent of the lead up to World War II. The unhinged Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace showed up to work yesterday with her arm in a sling after claiming to have been the victim of an aggressive handshake from a quote-unquote pro-trans man. I talked about this on the last show. Earlier in the week, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who is unhinged, she should put her brain in a sling. She attended an event for foster children, and a youth advocate, and they're very dangerous youth advocates, approached her, and he thanked Mace for what she's done to support children. He shook her hand, and while he was shaking her hand, he said, quote, "Trans children are foster kids too," unquote. 5 minutes later, Capitol Police arrested him after Mace called the police and said she had been assaulted, despite all the witnesses saying all he did was shake her hand. Well, I say she's unhinged. Don't take my word for it. Nancy had a communications employee named Natalie Johnson who worked in Nancy's office but quit, and she tweeted this about the sling. Quote, this is from Natalie Johnson. "This is the same woman who told staff, myself included, during January 6th that she wanted to get punched in the face by a rioter so she could get on TV. She's full of shit, and her prop of a sling is a pathetic ploy for attention." Well, Nancy Mace was instrumental in Speaker Mike Johnson pushing through a bill that bans transgender women from using female congressional washrooms. It's the only thing Nancy Mace has accomplished in Washington, banning transgender women from using female congressional washrooms. And this is now her signature issue, taking on the transgender community. She wrote a piece in the New York Post earlier this week calling transgender women mentally ill and violent. Well, Speaker Johnson is not only cracking down on transgender women, turns out he's cracking down on women, the women he approves of. Bloomberg reported that for the first time in nearly a decade, not a single woman will chair a congressional committee when the new Congress is sworn in on January 3rd. It's almost as though Speaker Johnson and the entire Republican Party has a problem with women. Kind of feels that way, but that would be unfair for me to say that. Feels like they have a problem with women and black people. I mean, who would have guessed? See, I didn't see this one coming. Right? We were told that Donald Trump won over so many black voters, and Donald Trump has taken over the Republican Party, and now Punchbowl reports this morning about this incoming 119th House of Representatives, quote, of the 16 elected committee chairs, 15 of them are white men. The only exception is Congressman Brian Mast, a Republican from Florida, whose maternal grandparents immigrated from Mexico. All white men, basically, serving as chairman. Well, that's going to be easy now. I don't have to catch myself and say chairwoman. ABC, this is interesting. ABC News reports that several black Republicans have quietly expressed surprise by how white Donald Trump's inner circle has turned out to be. I know. I'm with you, black Republicans. I'm just as shocked as you are. Scott Turner, if he's confirmed for Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, would be the only black member of Donald Trump's cabinet. Turner's pick for HUD, black Republicans are quietly saying that his pick for HUD is not a step forward, since they say HUD secretary is considered a quote-unquote black job. Turns out, if you look, the doctor, what was his name? The guy who separated heads was Trump's HUD secretary, Ben Carson. Don't look it up. Just you have that senior moment, take a deep breath. It's confidence. You have to have confidence in your memory. I'm not going to look it up. It was Dr. Ben Carson. So black Republicans say HUD secretary is a black job. I didn't know that there were black jobs, but Donald Trump said there are black jobs. It's a good thing Trump won, because migrants, he says, are stealing all the black jobs, and we would have ended up with a migrant from Guatemala running HUD. This is the mop-up for December 14th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Thank you so much for finding me. Please like this episode so I remain in your feed. There's a lot of content out there. You get buried. So if you like this episode and you hit the notifications button and you subscribe to my channel, I don't lose you. And Christmas. is just around the corner. So is everything else. I lost the war on Christmas. I can admit defeat. I waved the white flag of surrender. I fought the war on Christmas, and I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I lost, and now I just say Merry Christmas this time of year. Check out shopdavidfeldman.com for useless garbage you don't need. Like this, what is that? That's Cassidy modeling my Still a Democrat t-shirt. It also comes as a coffee mug. Thank you, Cassidy. Just 37 days until Donald Trump resoils the Oval Office. Earlier this week, Trump's new border czar, the former head of ICE, Tom Homan, said Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, sucks. That's what he said. He said Brandon Johnson sucks because Brandon Johnson has promised not to assist ICE in rounding up immigrants in Chicago, which the new border czar, Tom Homan, calls ground zero for fighting Trump's war against vulnerable women and children. Yeah, the mayor of Chicago sucks. But you know who doesn't suck? My mayor, Democrat, Eric Adams. Mayor Adams announced yesterday that he's going to assist ICE and Tom Homan in rounding up as many immigrants as they want, because this is New York City. We're not about migrants. Ellis Island is so 20th century. Eric Adams going to help ICE round up migrants. Tom Homan and Eric Adams met inside Gracie Mansion. That's where the mayor lives in New York City. And Mayor Adams came out of the meeting with Tom Homan, the new border czar, saying, I am more than willing to cooperate with the Trump administration. Imagine that. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the Justice Department indicting Mayor Adams in September on charges of bribery, campaign finance, law violation, several other conspiracies to commit a crime. And you know what? It's interesting. You know who can pardon Eric Adams because it's a federal trial? Donald Trump. Funny how that works. All the other blue cities are saying we're not going to assist Tom Homan. But my mayor, Democrat Eric Adams, the mayor of a city where all 20 of my grandparents landed, he's going to assist ICE. Why would that be? Because Donald Trump can pardon the mayor. If you live in New York City, get on the phone, call Eric Adams. Don't call him what he is. Just call Eric Adams. Call your city council member. This is not going to happen in my city. Not going to happen. But Eric Adams came out of the meeting and said he's going to cooperate with Tom Homan, Trump's new border czar. Tom Homan came out of the meeting and said this.
I can't find my penis. Have you seen my penis? Who took my penis? Seriously, if you see my penis, please return said penis to yours truly, Tom Homan, Trump's new border czar. I need my penis.
That's Tom Homan, Trump's new border czar. New York City is going to cooperate with Tom Homan. If you live in New York City and you're listening to me and you're not writing letters and calling Eric Adams and your city council member, who are you? What good are you? If you live in New York City and you have a 212 area code, what good are you if you're not calling the mayor's office, not sending postcards? Well, the Senate is still controlled by Democrats. It doesn't switch until January 3rd. So Democratic chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Dick Durbin, held hearings this week on Trump's proposed use of our military, the United States military, for mass deportations. Retired General Randy Manner testified during the hearings. He said, use of the military to assist Tom Homan and ICE, he said, is a bad idea. General Randy Manner, retired, said the military isn't trained to go door to door demanding people show them their papers. Is this the kind of country you want to live in? He said, quote, our military is the best trained in the world for its war-fighting mission, but it is neither trained nor equipped for immigration enforcement, unquote. He added the American people would lose faith in the military if soldiers were seen performing this function. Really, it would look unseemly to see armed soldiers walking through our streets, asking for papers, pulling you over if you're a person of color, demanding to see your documents. The military in America would have a PR problem? Now, in order to deploy the military, Trump would have to declare a national emergency. Presidents are given a lot of leeway when it comes to national emergencies. It would be challenged in the courts. During the hearing, California Democratic Senator Alex Padilla warned of massive labor shortages resulting in higher costs for housing and food if Trump went through with these mass deportations. Senator Padilla of California also argued it would be inhumane and ineffective. He added, it's immoral to target individuals who have become integral members of their communities. Then Senator Padilla addressed the issue of Donald Trump's incoming Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, who, along with then ICE Chief Tom Homan, designed the family separation policy. Stephen Miller has been promising since the election, even before, that Trump is going to deport the roughly 12 to 14 million Americans in this country who are not citizens. Senator Padilla said, quote, if tomorrow Stephen Miller could snap his fingers and have his way, he's talking about deporting 12 to 14 million Americans, 3% of our population. Senator Padilla said, if tomorrow Stephen Miller could snap his fingers and have his way, our annual GDP would drop roughly 6.8%. He said, imagine all the losses of the Great Recession and then still shrinking the economy another 2.5 points. That's what these mass deportations would do. 80% of undocumented Americans, 80% have been living in this country for more than 15 years. According to the American Immigration Council, it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million Americans. Miller wants to deport 12 to 14 million. The American Immigration Council says in order to deport 1 million, ICE would have to become 24 times larger than it already is. Yeah, But come on. It's worth the $88 billion just for the bloodlust of separating these families. Like this kid. Come on, America. Look at that little kid over there. Don't you want to put that kid in a cage and have it scream? It's not, let's dehumanize. Or this kid. Look at that. Come on. Don't you want to round that kid up? Separate them from their mothers? Don't you want to hear them screaming for their mother? Don't you want that? I mean, isn't that worth $88 billion? I mean, what's the point, America, of being the wealthiest country in the world if we can't cause irreparable psychological damage to the most vulnerable people in the world? Right, border czar Tom Homan?
I have to pay for sex. Even with my wife, she charges me for sex. Even though my wife has the face of a worn-out catcher's mitt, she still thinks she should be charging me for sex. I should be charging her for sex. Anyway, I haven't been interested in sex. Who needs sex when you can separate babies from their mothers and put children in cages? Hey, between you and me, my penis doesn't work.
Interesting. I'm not sure that's Tom Homan. I'm not sure. This is the mop-up for December 14th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Thank you so much for finding me. Please like, share, bathe, shower, shave. Go to shopdavidfeldman.com and pick up garbage you don't need, like this, my Made in Los Estados Unidos coffee mug. That's my favorite. We are just 37 days away from Donald Trump resoiling the Oval Office. Trump is threatening revenge, but this week he said he has no intention of ordering his Justice Department to investigate Joe Biden. That's very magnanimous of Donald Trump to think that the Supreme Court's July ruling on immunity for ex-presidents also applies to Democrats. Really nice of him. Alexander Smirnoff, the FBI informant, pled guilty to charges of lying to the government when he told them that Joe and Hunter Biden were each handed $5 million bribes by the Ukrainian gas company Burisma. This lie, he told to the FBI back in 2020, ended up becoming the centerpiece. This lie became the centerpiece of the entire Joe Biden impeachment inquiry for the past 2 years. Republicans in the House spent millions of dollars. The House Oversight Committee, Comer, Ways and Means, Judiciary, they all looked into Joe Biden's illegal connections to Ukraine. And it was all based on a lie from this man who pled guilty to making it all up. Smirnoff was indicted by special counsel David Weiss, who also indicted Hunter Biden for making false statements about his drug use when he purchased a gun. That's basically the crime that he got indicted over. When he was on a crack bender, he went and bought a gun, and when he was filling out the form for the ATF, they asked, do you have a history of drug use? And he lied and said, I'm not a drug addict, and he bought a gun, and he's facing a prison sentence for something that Republicans would not want to be illegal if it didn't involve Hunter Biden. Republicans have no problem with drug addicts buying guns. But because Hunter Biden did it, we got to put him away, possibly for 15 years. He repaid his taxes, so he got pardoned, which was the right thing to do. He should not have been indicted for lying on his application for to buy a gun. All the gun problems we have in this country, Hunter Biden, they're going to lock up. According to a new Monmouth poll, only 32% of Americans approve of Hunter Biden's pardon. Anybody who doesn't approve of Hunter Biden's pardon is a moron. He was indicted basically for being Joe Biden's son. He didn't use the gun. He dumped it in a trash can. You know, if I were Joe Biden, especially the way this election turned out, where I would for the next 37 days, I would make an announcement every day for the next 37 days. I'd walk into the briefing room every single day, grab my balls, and pardon Hunter again. That's what I would do. After Hunter's pardon, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called on Joe Biden to pardon other nonviolent offenders. So Joe Biden broke the record. This week, he commuted sentences for 1,500 nonviolent offenders. That's the most any president commuted in one day. And they weren't donors. You'll see, America, when history is written, you'll see what a great president he is. You'll see. It's a stupid country. We are 37 days away from Trump resoiling the Oval Office, and Amazon, as well as Facebook, announced they are donating $1 million each to Donald Trump's inaugural committee. This racket, Donald Trump's inaugural committee. Sam Altman, who's the founder of OpenAI, announced he is making a personal donation of $1 million to Donald Trump's inaugural committee. You know, it's hard to keep track, but Trump's first inaugural committee raised $107 million. It was an all-time record, twice what Obama's previous inaugural committee raised. Public Citizen, the people's lobbyist, you should donate to Public Citizen if you have some money. Public Citizen, back in 2017, called for an investigation to find out what happened to all that money that was raised. They said Trump couldn't possibly have spent all $107 million. 2 years ago, the Trump Organization, as well as his inaugural committee, paid $750,000 to settle with the Washington, D.C. Attorney General's office. The Washington, D.C. Attorney General filed a lawsuit accusing Trump of misspending the $107 million he raised for his inaugural committee. But there never really was an investigation. How could there be? That was the least of it. It's the problem. This is the problem with prosecuting Donald Trump. Where do you start? You're going to focus on people, him pocketing donations to his inaugural committee, or do you go after him for leading an insurrection? Apple's boss, Tim Cook, announced he will fly down to Florida next week to dine with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. So you go to Apple, go to their website, and they have a whole menu about corporate values, what they believe in. Because corporations are human beings, and corporations have values. Read about Apple's values. And Apple's Tim Cook is down in Mar-a-Lago eating with Donald Trump. They must have nose buds. They have earbuds. He must have invented nose buds that can transform the stench of human feces into the smell of a rose. That's the only way you can have dinner with Donald Trump, with nose buds. The man stinks. Trump invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to next month's inauguration. The Chinese leader said, "I'd like to attend, but what with all the tariffs, it's too effing expensive." Instead, the Chinese president said he and his wife are picking out a lovely bribe. Republican members of Utah's congressional delegation have invited a convicted January 6er to attend Donald Trump's inauguration. His name is Russell Taylor, and last year he pleaded guilty for his involvement in the January 6th insurrection. He received a lesser sentence from the Justice Department after he agreed to testify against members of the Three Percenters. He was in cahoots, apparently, with the Three Percenters, a militia group dedicated to overthrowing the United States government, and he got a lesser sentence. He's out, and he's gotten permission to travel to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration. Let me show you. This is a photograph he took of the stuff he brought to the Capitol on January 6th. He put it on the bed of his hotel room. He took a picture, then packed it all up and headed for the Capitol on January 6th. According to the Justice Department, the weapons he was carrying when he was arrested included hatchets, a taser, stun batons, bear spray, tactical gloves, a helmet, a plate carrier vest with bulletproof plates, and Republicans have invited him to attend Donald Trump's inauguration. Do you think that might be the reason the leader of China doesn't want to show up? The Department of Justice's Inspector General issued a final report this week saying there's no evidence that undercover FBI agents were among the insurrectionists on January 6th. Of course not. It was too dangerous. Why would the FBI want to be among those people? Donald Trump said repeatedly during the campaign that he would pardon and or offer clemency to all the quote-unquote political hostages who were arrested on January 6th. Right? This is a, where is it? Let me just show you. Where are we? Right? This is what a political hostage brought to the Capitol on January 6th. And I won't even get into the Oath Keepers and what Stuart Rhodes had in his hotel room. Where am I? Oh, clemency. Donald Trump has been promising to offer clemency for the January 6ers. And in the lead up to his inauguration, he's saying he's planning to offer them clemency on day one. At the same time, he says members of the January 6th committee should be prosecuted. Congressman Benny Thompson was chairman of the January 6th committee. And this week he said, if Joe Biden wants to give him a pardon, I'll take it. January 6th isn't over. Politico reports that Trump's second term will be preoccupied with 8 January 6 civil lawsuits filed by Capitol Police and members of Congress. Now, a sitting president can be sued for damages inflicted before he became president. That's Paula Jones versus Bill Clinton. He sexually harassed her before he became president. She sued him in a civil court. The Supreme Court ruled that she could go through with the lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, while he was president, but you cannot sue a president for anything he did while he was president. So I don't know how this is going to work. There are 8 lawsuits that have been filed by Capitol Police and members of Congress against Donald Trump. He was president on January 6th. I'm not certain if these trials will happen. I don't think a president can be sued in a civil court for anything he does as president, official or unofficial. I think that is what the Supreme Court has already ruled. Earlier this year, journalist E. Jean Carroll was awarded $83.3 million after a jury found Trump liable for defamation and sexually assaulting her. Trump is appealing that $83.3 million verdict, and because it's a civil lawsuit, totally unrelated to his official role as president, there's no reason it shouldn't continue into next year. This is a headline from the Washington Post last year. Judge clarifies, yes, Trump was found to have raped E. Jean Carroll. This is from the Washington Post, July 19th, 2023. Judge clarifies, yes, Trump was found to have raped E. Jean Carroll. The presiding U.S. District Judge in the trial, Lewis Kaplan, twice wrote that, quote, Mr. Trump, in fact, did rape Ms. Carroll, as that term commonly is used and understood. George Stephanopoulos of ABC News might want to grab this headline. News broke yesterday that Trump will be deposed this month, I think it's next week, in his defamation suit against ABC News anchor George Stephanopoulos, who during a March interview with the unhinged Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Stephanopoulos asked Nancy Mace why she, a rape victim, is voting for someone who was, quote unquote, found liable for rape. Donald Trump immediately filed a defamation lawsuit against ABC News because George Stephanopoulos said Donald Trump was, quote unquote, found liable for rape. Again, Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over the trial, twice wrote that New York State has a very specific definition of what constitutes rape. Judge Lewis Kaplan, the presiding judge, wrote that the jury finding Donald Trump guilty of sexual battery, quote, doesn't mean E. Jean Carroll and her lawyers failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people commonly understand the word rape, unquote. Be interesting to see how this trial shakes out. And I'd like to see the deposition. Trump's going to depose himself. New York State Attorney General Letitia James says Trump's civil fraud trial will continue into his presidency. Civil trial. He defrauded. Trump was ordered to pay $454 million earlier this year to the state of New York for defrauding lenders before he became president. As Trump appeals this ruling, that fine increases $87,502 per day because of interest. Trump's attorney, get used to this guy, his name is D. John Sauer. He asked that the case be dismissed, quote unquote, in the interest of unity. But we're still suing George Stephanopoulos. But could you find it in your heart, in the interest of unity, to drop this? That would be D. John Sauer. I think that's a flavor of mustard. Dijon Sour. Well, get used to him. Trump named Dijon Sour to be our government's next Solicitor General. That means he will, as Solicitor General, argue on behalf of the United States government before the Supreme Court. You might remember the last time Dijon Sour, what's his name? Dijon Sour. Jesus. Last time he argued before the Supreme Court, that was earlier this year in the presidential immunity appeal, where Dijon Sour maintained that Donald Trump couldn't be tried as an ex-president if, as president, he had ordered SEAL Team 6 to kill one of his political opponents. That was the argument that our next Solicitor General made in the immunity hearings, that Donald Trump, as an ex-president, could not be criminally prosecuted for ordering SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponent while he was president. The Supreme Court this week refused to lift Donald Trump's gag order in the hush money trial, where Donald Trump was found guilty of violating campaign finance law by covering up payments to a porn star. What a year he's had. He became a convicted felon this year. He's appealing that, and the Supreme Court ruled that the gag order is still in place. With that gag order, I mean, the Supreme Court is keeping the gag order? How can Donald Trump govern as president of the United States if he can't threaten the lives of judges and their daughters? I'm surprised the Supreme Court ruled that way. This is the mop-up for December 14th. I'm David Feldman in New York. Please like this episode. Please subscribe to my newsletter, my channel. Please shower regularly, brush your teeth, use deodorant, don't eat garlic or onions, shave. Please, wash your clothes and share this. Is anybody here? And share this with your friends. Do what I tell you. I mean, if you got to eat garlic or onions, don't sit next to me in a movie theater. And go to Shop David Feldman and buy worthless garbage that you don't need. Just waste money over at shopdavidfeldman.com. This is an appeal to heaven flag. It sits outside Speaker Mike Johnson's office. It was carried into the Capitol by the insurrectionists on January 6th. It's a belief in Christian nationalism, conquering the 7 mountains of society. It's an appeal to heaven flag. And there will be people carrying an appeal to heaven flag when Donald Trump is inaugurated. In fact, Samuel Alito's unhinged wife flew an appeal to heaven flag outside their vacation home. This is for very religious people. I can't sell an appeal to heaven flag over at Shop David Feldman, so I'm selling an appeal to these nuts flag. Why not go to Shop David Feldman and pick up an appeal to these nuts flag and wave that at the inauguration? If you're going to the inauguration, wave an appeal to these nuts flags. How are we doing on time? I'm going to wrap it up. I have no life. This is all I have. So whether you're watching or not, doesn't matter. I'm basically Rupert Pupkin in The King of Comedy. Doesn't matter. My audience is just a bunch of cardboard cutouts. Ma! Have you seen the canned comedy lately? Is there anything Martin Scorsese does that isn't fantastic? No. Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is coming under more criticism after new video surfaced of him saying gays should not be allowed to serve in the military. This week, Hegseth walked back previous comments where he previously said female soldiers should not be allowed in combat. He now says he's for that. Hegseth then told reporters,
"My butt hurts."
I don't know what is going on. Trump announced he will nominate Andrew Ferguson to head the Federal Trade Commission. Ferguson, a lawyer, has been very critical of Joe Biden's muscular approach, breaking up the monopolies. This is one of the most underreported stories of the past 2 years. Lena Khan, our FTC commissioner, going after monopolies under the radar. Khan was instrumental in 2 federal judges this week blocking the merger of grocery chains, Kroger and Albertsons. The Biden administration sued successfully to block this merger, claiming it would lead to higher food prices and lower wages. I mean, this is huge. This is what happens when you have a president like Joe Biden using the FTC and the Justice Department. This is how you bring down the price of food. You forbid Kroger and Albertsons from merging. And you know how the media reports it? A judge today blocked the merger. That's how all the major, I was reading on television, I was watching, a judge today blocked, Joe Biden blocked it. Joe Biden and Lena Khan over at the FTC sued to block it. But you can't say that because that's biased. You don't want to give Joe Biden any credit for bringing down the cost of food. So you say a judge did it. Donald Trump's pick for Commerce Secretary is Howard Lutnick. Mr. Lutnick. Very annoying man. He wanted to be Treasury Secretary, but he wouldn't leave Lutnick wouldn't leave Donald Trump alone at Mar-a-Lago, and he just put him in, make him Commerce Secretary. This guy headed the transition team. He's also the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Yes, that Cantor Fitzgerald, which agreed this week to pay a $6.7 million fine, a $6,750,000 fine by the SEC after Cantor Fitzgerald was caught hiding important information from clients. Well, you could just lock him up. You could do that. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren said she would vote against Bobby Kennedy Jr. as head of Health and Human Services. She's not going to vote against him as the head of Health and Human Services. She's voting against Bobby Kennedy not to be head of Health and Human Services. I don't want you to think she would do the voting against him as the head of Health and Human Services. She said, this is what she said, "Say hello to polio. That's what's on the horizon if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. becomes the Secretary of Health and Human Services." Just bringing back polio. A lawyer recommended by Bobby Kennedy Jr. to help the Trump administration fill out our health agencies, hire people. This lawyer, who Bobby Kennedy Jr. recommended, well, it turns out he has a storied history of petitioning the government to revoke licenses for the polio vaccine. I mean, How can you be against the polio vaccine? According to the Washington Post, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who survived polio as a child, he told reporters, anyone seeking a Senate confirmation should steer clear of associating with any efforts to undermine public confidence in the polio vaccine, unquote. We'll see what Mitch McConnell is capable of doing. Jack Schlossberg, President Kennedy's grandson, President Kennedy's only grandson, said this week that Bobby Kennedy Jr. is a Russian spy, and then added, I'm not kidding. That would be President Kennedy's grandson, his only grandson, Jack Schlossberg. Jack Schlossberg. What else is going on? MSNBC's ratings are in free fall, and following Comcast's decision to spin off MSNBC, Warner is going to spin off CNN. Looks like CNN is going to be on its own. That doesn't bode well. What else is going on? A new poll shows that the British prefer socialism to capitalism. And what does this mean? 1,000 men in 24 hours. I don't know what that means. 1,000 men. Jesus. I'm David Feldman. Jesus. Australia, New Zealand, Canada. My son says Germany. Wow. What a country. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. This has been the mop-up for, what is it, December 14th, 2024. Does it feel like the holidays? Does it feel like Christmas? I don't know. If you want to get into the Christmas spirit, check out shopdavidfeldman.com. We got some amazing. I'm going to do a better job selling stuff here. Pick up some great new items over at Shop David Feldman, like Donald Trump, the Godfather coffee mug. Isn't that great? Don't you want a coffee mug? Doesn't that make you want to drink coffee? Or the Still a Democrat t-shirt? Look at that. How can you not want that? Or, a MAGA hats, a MAGA moron hat, a MAGA for Kamala. Well, that's no good. But I like the MAGA hat. You get a gift for your MAGA relatives. And on the back, it reads low IQ individual, but they can't see that. They won't be able to read that. Get that. Do it. Brush your teeth. Wear deodorant. Gargle. Clean your clothes. A worse... The worst case scenario map. I think we have a few of these left. I think people are sending them back. Genghis Khan. I like that. Donald Trump is Genghis Khan. Donald Trump is a predator. It's not too soon to get ready for 2028 to reelect our dear leader. Pick up that. My nephew Leonard, I gave him my credit card, and he made 500 David Ferdman Show hoodies, 500 David Ferdman Show coffee mugs, and 500 David Ferdman Show T-shirts. And he gets a cookie because he just got one letter wrong. He didn't know that his own uncle, his last name is Feldman, not Ferdman. You may want to take these off my hands for Christmas. Still a Democrat. Coffee mug. This is my favorite. The Made in Los Estados Unidos coffee mug. And, of course, no holiday. You can't have Christmas without the hope you're in the mood for diarrhea coffee mug. Coffee mug? Chef's apron. It's a chef's apron that says, I hope you're in the mood for diarrhea. All right. That's it. Thank you to Bob in the chat room. Thank you to Mila in the chat room. I don't know if Leonard is in the chat room tonight, but he's going to be a moderator. And leave a comment. I read all your comments. No show until Tuesday morning at 2:30. Let me read. Oh, super chats. I haven't. Stanley. Wow. Thank you, Stanley Thomas. Thank you for that super chat. Thank you for being able to say what I feel. Thank you from Ron. Great work. Keep up the battle. Doug. Thank you from Doug. A blue thumbs down with nope written on it. Oh, okay. Drew. Thank you. And Jen. Thanks for the coffee. Wow, thank you. And then there are thousands and thousands of, I'll read the chat later. Thank you for, I should read the super chats more often. Okay. Thank you.